Islam. I rise giving praise
Islam.
to Allah and honors the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to my beautiful wife, Sister D. Adams Bay. I give honors to our guest speakers, Brother Q McGee Bay and Brother N Rebels Bay. I give honors to our viewers, listeners, and everyone who's tuned in to Universal Love for some uplifting information. And today on Universal Love, our topic is being a creator and making our own. And with that being said, I'll now have my beautiful wife introduce herself, and then she'll have the guest speakers introduce themselves. Peace.
Islam. First, I give
Islam.
praise to Allah and honors to our Prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to all those who are here with us this evening. I give honors to our guest speakers, and I give honor to the tech team, to those who helped make this all possible. And like the brother said, the topic this evening is being a creator and making your own. And without further ado, we'll give it over to our guest speakers so they can introduce themselves and share a little bit of information about themselves. Peace.
Peace. Islam was my brother Q McGee Bay. Praise Allah. First of all, let me give praise to Allah. Honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Honor to everyone in this meeting. Honor to each and one of you viewers today. Praise Allah. I'm brother Q McGee Bay, Temple 71, Washington, D.C. I'm here to give praise and honor to the Prophet, to Allah and the Prophet for bringing these divine teachings to help us figure this this maze that we're in, this mad human drama that we're in. This is a beautiful show, and I give honors to Brother T and Sister Adams Bay. I give honors to Brother N Rebels Bay. I give honors to everything that was given honors to in the opening of the meeting. Peace.
Peace. Islam. My name is Brother N Rebels Bay, Moorish Science Temple number 21, Brooklyn, New York. Currently on the Grand Street over there, Moorish Science Temple 21. So again, rise to give praise to Allah and honors His Holy Prophet, and to our past leaders and moderators and advisors, Brother Marcus Garvey, the harbinger to our Prophet, and I give honor to all those and everything pertaining to Islam, and especially to the Adams Bay family for having us on today, and Brother McGee Bay as well. So I've been a member of Temple 21, and I've been in the Moorish Science Temple about the 70s, about 1970 or so. So we've been in it for a little bit, trying to learn to love instead of hate, and teach our people their nationality and their divine creed. Peace.
Peace. And like we stated earlier, the topic is being a creator and making our own. And it's something to look at the teachings of the Prophet and begin to apply them and see how that can really become your norm as you start to apply the instructions that he brings forth to you. And with that being said, we're going to go to the first question. All right, I'm going to take a reading from chapter 12, Divine Instruction 8 through 10. Jesus teaches the common people at a spring and tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. And the instructions is, and Jesus said, "My brother man, your thoughts are wrong. Your heaven is not far away, and it is not a place of metes and bounds. It is not a country to be reached. It is a state of mind. Allah never made a heaven for man. He never made a hell. We are creators and make our own." What does it mean to you by being a creator and to make your own? And it's open to either one of you. Peace.
Peace.
Peace. Well, for me, being a creator, that those words or those instructions were very profound for me, because I was used to looking for blaming somebody else for my conditions and the things that I was experiencing. I always had somebody to blame, no matter what the outcome was, it was always somebody else's fault. And, and when you start to practice those ways of thinking, they start to become you, and, that becomes your default. You don't have no other way to look when it comes to something that's going wrong in your life. And so, coming upon these instructions gave me a different view about myself, and a window to look in, when it comes to myself, and seeing how I've, how I've gotten into the conditions that I now know is called hell. How did I get here? Why am I experiencing this condition that I don't like, or I'm currently in that I don't like? And now I know how I got here. It's because some of the thoughts that I was holding on to, some of the things that I was creating in my past that, I was unconsciously creating. And that's the thing right there. Sometimes we're conscious of our creations, and sometimes we're not conscious of our creations. And so you'll get lost on what actually and what is manifesting, where the manifest comes from. And so, that started to give me more accountability is the word I'm looking for when it comes to the things that I'm experiencing. Is letting me know that I created it. You know what I mean? So that's it. Peace.
And I apologize because I forgot to read divine instruction number 10, and it says, "Now cease to seek for heaven in the sky. Just open up the windows of your hearts, and like a flood of light of heaven will come and bring a boundless joy. Then the toil will be no cruel task." Islam.
Islam. So Islam, this brother in Rebels Bay. So as we look at that, the whole chapter, which it says, Jesus teaches the common people at a spring, tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. So when most of us have traveled into the Moorish Science Temple of America, we come from a different point of view. And that different point of view is what we've been told or taught or been passed down traditionally. And it does not mean it's rooted in truth. It just means it's been passed down and we've accepted it. So most people, look outside of them for their faults and their failings. If they don't make anything, someone else, exempted me, somebody else stayed in my way, someone else. So when praise the Lord that the Holy Prophet came and stayed with the Moors long enough, and then let the Holy Quran for us to study and see that we got to go within. And when we go within, and one of the questions later on about that rocky soil, and go beneath that, then we're looking deeper into knowing who you are, knowing thyself and thy Father God Allah. And earlier chapters like 19 and 20, when the prophet Jesus rose, from the dead and went back to show that the possibilities of man. So we're on the cusp, meaning everyone, the whole world's on the cusp of knowing within themselves they have the power to create. Now we've done it like the brother said, we created in the past, but we thought that sometimes we did it on our own, and sometimes we did it haphazardly. And if it worked out, we said, got out of that one, wow, and a lot of it was rooted in what they call, the prophet says, vanity, which is above them all. So we're learning how to take out the vanity of life and to go to that which is right. So that's what Jesus came along. So for me, coming into the Moorish Science Temple and realizing that, I had to realize, first of all, it was done by a holy man. He wasn't just a good brother, had some nice thoughts and feelings and opinions about life. So like the older Moors, you say, the holy prophet. So when the holy prophet said whatever he said, he was not speaking on his own volition. He was speaking with the words that Allah commanded him to say. So it's up to me as the listener to hear it. And either I'm going to do one or two things. I'm going to say, well, I believe what the prophet said, and I'm going to go by that faith and go straight in. Or I'm going to stand and say, well, it sounds good, but I don't know, because every time I look around, I see so and so and so and so. So the weakness of man doesn't bear his splendor. So when Jesus was teaching the brothers, they had that weakness in them, and they were told something different. Who told you this? That you don't have the power. So when he told the people of eternal, and they opened up the door, how to open up this door, the windows of their hearts, then they began to see, tell us more. How do you do that? So that's what happens. Once the student is ready, the master will appear. And if the master does appear and maybe sort of disappears, that's because you didn't believe what the master said in the first place. Mm-hmm. So, that's why we call Moorish Science Temple dropouts. No disrespect. But if you come in, and we keep saying, put your hand on the gospel plow. Don't let go. And for those of us that understand other experiences in life, it's just like any other job you have. If you don't watch that hammer, take that hammer and put that nail in correctly, you'll hit your fingers. Then it hurts. Then you say, oh, I'll do better next time. And then you begin to pound it in. And, if you keep hitting consistently in that same spot, you get the results. So that's why Jesus spoke in parables, to get the people to understand on a finite sense how to understand something that's infinite, that you can't see, smell, or touch. Peace.
Peace. And something else I want to add to what the brother was saying is, this is a chapter in specific that I see where Jesus was addressing thought directly, addressing the thoughts that the poor toilers was holding. They were in a certain state of mind, and not knowing that they were creating a certain condition for themselves by being in that state of mind. I think that that's very, very, very key in this regards, because we're talking about being a creator and making our own. And Jesus comes to the common people, and he said, toil should not make a person sad.
Mm-hmm.
And so he obviously observed them in a state of being where they were sad about the work that they were doing. This was a revelation in that we should be happy when we serve and when we do work. And he addressed, he said, my brother, man, your thoughts are wrong. He went directly at the thoughts. The thought is the cause of it all. So, we thinking that heaven is a place to be reached, coming from a certain state that we were just in prior to the Moorish Science of America. We thought heaven was in the sky and hell was beneath us. But we're learning now through the prophet's teaching that heaven and hell is within. And it's just a good thing to be able to try to align yourself with those thoughts in this day and age right now. I mean, I can't say that I've mastered those thoughts, but it's just a great thing just to be able to have that to work off of. So peace.
Peace. And Islam, in relationship to what the brother said too, that he said something that he hadn't mastered it yet. But I think at some points along the way you will master it. And that's what Jesus was saying, because Jesus was the pattern,
That's right.
What I am, all men shall be, So when I look at the pattern, I realize that the only fault is I don't use the pattern. I didn't use the pattern right. And then remember, you got to cut away the naughty, ungainless parts. And,
Yes.
And then the prophet says, well, man is not his faults. I said, wow, that's kind of interesting. Well, you tell me to cut up. Now you say I can't mend my faults. Then I talked to somebody and said, well, there's a difference between mending and putting a whole new piece on. That's like mending like a sweater, and you put the little pieces together and it's not going to hold. You got to take it all the way off, put a brand new sweater on, and then you do the job. So certain things, like you go to the cleaners or whatever, they can't mend certain things. They got to patch it over maybe to give it the strength that it is. So I said, oh, okay. See, I learned why he said, man, mendeth not his fault, because you got to cut it off completely. So the mastership comes along, but a more and more challenge that we got it. A man never know, soldier never knows his strength without a foe. Mm-hmm. So you got to meet the foe, 24/7, because that's the only way you're going to be a soldier for Drew Ali. That's what the song says. So if you're trying to be a soldier, well, that's what a soldier does. He takes orders, he takes commands, he does what the master said. He just does it. He doesn't even question what's going on. And for me, in the little time I've been in Moorish Science, I've seen that work, because certain things just happen, not just happen. Certain things happen because he told me to do it. Just the other day, I'll give you one here. Just the other day, though, for those of us that are involved in working in the public and stuff, the government didn't give away, but you had to apply for grants and stuff. And so I got my second approval the other day. I said, praise Allah, And again, it's because you got to do that which is right. And then the reward and or punishment will come. So Jesus is trying to tell the people, reminder of their sin. But I keep saying sinful ways, because it is a sin to be thinking you're Negro, black, and colored. I'm poor with me. I can't do. I can't. So the Moorish Science Temple is not teaching I can't teach. You can, and you will. So if you do this, and there's a process of purifying a heart to even do something like that. That's where the challenge comes, because a lot of us, and I'm saying us, we want to hang on to certain things, just a little bit of something, and realize, but you got to let that go. You got to let it go, because once you let it go, then you begin to understand your strength. So you can overcome anything, drug addiction, smoking, whatever it might be. You can overcome that, because Jesus was the pattern. And guess what? You can overcome death. Ain't no such thing as death. So, hey, man, to tell somebody that you can do all of that, That's why in olden times they wanted to go in and destroy the temple, because you went in as a man, but you came out as a God. But that God that we're talking about is not the low life God. We're talking about being one with Allah. We're not trying to put no pain or anything like that. But we're all going to be protective of ourselves. But the other way, we're not out here soldiers creating a bunch of havoc on the earth land. We're trying to do that which is right and to save man. Even the foe that seeks to do you harm. That's kind of deep. A foe that seeks to do you harm. So that's how I think for me it was always the challenging how to even get along with somebody with a friendly reproach, and they don't like you. They just don't like you. But things happen, and all of a sudden you get on the better side of that individual, no matter what might be, or where along the way he might be, because you're going to be an example for the sons of men. Peace.
Peace.
Islam.
Islam.
So, what are some of the things that you do personally to keep a heavenly state of mind?
It's just to me, but if it's to me directly, I think for me,
both of you.
Okay. Well, I've learned at first to always say the Moorish American prayer when I get up, when I'm going where I'm at, always say the Moorish American prayer, always say the Moorish American prayer. Then later on, I would always try and memorize certain things that the prophet has said, get the best in others and give them the best that's within you. Seek a better appreciation for womanhood, things of that nature. Because those, what people on a lower level call mantras, are the things that you put in the universe. Those are your thought patterns that you want to sharpen your thought patterns. And they all in meditation, go along with meditation, then it enables you to focus more on whatever it is you're trying to do. And then when you begin that work on that focus, then the storms can rise, the lion, the leopard goes across like the prophet said, so the consistency, you get your consistency along the way. But I think that comes from, at some points you got to study, be honest with you, with the masters that the prophet left down here. We got plenty of masters, saints, silent brotherhoods, because they're the ones that are going to be around you all the time, and they're going to show you how to reach those goals. But even within reaching those goals, though, you don't go out and brag about it. You don't say, "Hey, man, I'm doing so and so. I'm doing." No, I would never say that to any certain, but I consider individuals that are not at a certain level. But I would always convey to those that I felt that we're on the same level in a certain, because we're trying to aid one another how to rise higher and higher in Islam, what we call being higher and higher in Islam. So to do that, it is a silent challenge. But yes, you can meditate and say your prayer and any other mantra that keeps you in focus. So when the challenges come, that's the first shield of protection you throw up. And it's not your mouth or anything like that. You learn to keep your mouth shut sometimes. Don't say certain things. Don't be so quick to say anything, because even in silence, there's a power in silence. So that's what I do. I meditate a lot, and so that when the challenges come, I say the right thing at the right time and be able to aid somebody, even if they say something in a harsh way. And as an example for you, I'll be honest with you, I took my wife to the doctor. So because of the COVID, and we should talk about that. So she starts ranting about, well, she's going to die. Just like that. I said, oh my God, why would you say something like that? So my first thought was to lunge at her almost, it's an ethical way of saying things to people. And there's a non-ethical way that came from an emotion. But I didn't say anything. I just kept my lips shut. So I thought about it for a long time. And sure enough, she had to go back again. And this time she was sort of cooled out. But I think at some points I've learned, let Allah and the Prophet step in and do that work for you. You don't try and chastise. Let Allah and the Prophet do that for you, because they can do it much better. They can't fight them. If you go in there, they're going to fight you. But let Allah and the Prophet go through there. So I say that all the time, because those angels and stuff, they're all around you, whether people believe it or not. They are here. They're here to help you. And when you say that prayer, you're trying to invoke, people call it invoke, those spirits. And I'm not making it spooky or nothing like that. It's just that Jesus was protected, and that's why he had to give his life. Because if you read the story before that, when they came to get him, he started glowing, almost like he lit up, and they backed off, and then he gave his life to them. So that's the power that man has. No one can take you unless you give them the permission, but you do have the power once you in love, that it will protect you if any dangers would come. So that's what I've learned along the way. I want to be able to call upon the angels and the prophets to aid me to do that which is right. And then I know the end will always be good. Even if I don't think it's right, even the end, it'll always be right. But never again, never let go of the gospel plowing. I'm sorry, I'm talking too much. Peace.
Islam. What I would say to that is, and that was an excellent answer, brother. What I would say to that is, I try to, I try to envision what heaven is first. I try to, because I had a pre-thought prior to joining to the Morris Science Temple of America, being a member. I had a thought about what heaven looked like in my mind. So now I have to unmake that thought. and that is a job in itself, is trying to uncreate that thought, and just so I can see a real, very real type of heaven. And it's not a place of meets and bounds. It's not a country to be reached. It is a state of mind. It's a state of being. And it reminds me of what this chapter is saying. It's saying that Jesus is teaching the common people at a spring and tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. And that puts me in the song that I like to sing. And that's another one of the answers that I have, is like, I go to some of those Moorish songs, and when I get into those songs, that vibration, it just pulls me in. I don't care what's going on. I don't care what's going on the outside. That's an illusion. If I can just think of some of those songs, sometimes those songs pull me up, and there's a song that we have. It says, hold on to Allah's unchanging hands. Keep It said, keep. It said, hold on, those things eternal, basically. It said those things eternal.
Keep your hopes
on things eternal. That's what it says. And it's that song, it just lets you, it just says that, on heaven alone are we to hope for good, and so we definitely want to keep our eyes on keep our hands in Allah's hands, and all will be well, and just draw from some of those instructions that the prophet has laid out before us. And it's just a beautiful thing to be in the Moorish Science Temple of America and be exposed to these teachings, exposed to the light. It says carnal men want not the light. That's one of the reasons why we close our doors and our windows to our hearts. I know we haven't got there, but that is one of the things that I feel like we do a lot of times, because we don't want to hear the truth. And so, it causes us to miss out on that opportunity of experiencing what heaven is. So with that, I say peace.
Peace.
Islam. And this whole week I've been thinking about that question. And it says, what does it mean? Now, what are some things that you do personally to keep a heavenly state of mind? And with me, I think about our brother Jesus, like, because I've been thinking about chapter 16, Pilate's final effort to release Jesus fails. He washes his hand in feigned innocence, delivered Jesus to the Jews for execution. The soldiers drive him to Calvary. And I think about in divine instruction, what's that? Number 20, and it says, and then the rabble said, make haste, let him be stoned. And then they led him forth toward the hill beyond the city gates, where criminals were put to death. The rabble could not wait until they reached the place of skulls. As soon as they had passed the city gates, they rushed upon him, smote him with their hands. They spit upon him, stoned him as he fell into the ground. And I think about, like, man, you think about what Jesus did just to get the messages to the people and what he endured. And if Jesus can go through all that, man, what I'm going through is like, it's like minimal, and that keeps me like striving and focusing on that heavenly state of mind that I see as like a heaven for me while I'm here on earth, because it could be so much worse for me, and then, like, I remember just recently when I took a trip to Philadelphia and just going and seeing like the environments where some of our brothers and sisters live, and you think you got it so rough. And when I say brothers and sisters, I'm talking about Asiatics in general.
Yes.
But you think you got it so rough, and you like barely really going through anything, and you see people who like really have nothing, and they're smiling. What you deem as nothing, but they're smiling and joyful, you know. And that's what you see. People create their heaven no matter what circumstances they're in, you know.
That's right.
And yet you have what most people would deem as a heaven, but you still complaining because it's not enough,
Right.
you know. And that's what kind of keep me like striving for that heavenly state of mind.
You know, that's something you said more that made me think about, you know, just sometimes the littlest things is the heaven is in the smallest things, man. And you know, it's like I recently went to a pet shop with my daughters, and somehow I got guided into a bird shop, man. And I ended up buying like a little bird feeder thing. And I'm saying to myself, what am I doing? Like, why am I spending this money on bird food and all this stuff? But when I got that thing home and hung it up and watched how those birds came to eat, it was just a joy that came. Like I actually felt like I was helping out not only humanity, but just life in general, just contributing to life. Like those birds was probably looking for something that they couldn't even, you know, really eat. And people throw bread and things that's not even good for them. And, you know, I did something I felt that made me feel good. It was a small thing, but I sat there and I was like so peaceful. And, you know, they was joking me saying I'm becoming an old man and all of that, but you know,
praise Allah. Yeah.
Islam. That's what. Go ahead, my brother. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, brother.
Well, like I said, you said something about that's why he said you become an old man. But brother, you know, that's because again, the temple to me is a school, so it's a whole different type of school. And I realized when Jesus, well, I keep saying Jesus, but it was John that wrote for 18 years. He was in school, you know, not from 2 hours on Friday and 2 hours on Sunday. He was there, you know, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and he was getting, in a way, I guess, in a lay sense, getting deprogrammed from what the world says. Because, like you said, even jokingly. See, that's the world said, well, man, you old so and so.
Exactly.
Listen, man, I wish I had more wisdom when I was younger.
Exactly.
But that would have to come, and that's why, to me, a Prophet Noble Drew Ali is changing the searches. He is making the changes so that we can wise. Because if we're teaching our children these divine instructions,
that's right,
they'll be very young wise. They won't be old wise. They won't go maybe not go through the pains if they stick and put their hand on that gospel plow and don't let go. So that's what we're talking about. The world is wrong and the prophets are right. So in when the prophets be speaking, it's complete. It has nothing to do with the worldly situation. So even when I jest about the world too, yeah, I'm jesting about it because I think, praise Allah, I came to the point where I understand that's what the world says, that you're young and you play around. You just know you don't have no thought about eternity, and you're taught vanity at a very young age. So when we see TV. And I watched some of it too. I grew up as a TV baby, and somebody says, "Oh man, TikTok made my daughter be low self-esteem." I just laughed at that. That's foolishness. TikTok didn't do that. You did that. If you don't guide your children, the prophet gives you the instruction which you're supposed to teach them. So if you're going to allow your teacher to be taught by somebody else, that's the results. That's like if you read the Holy Quran in Mecca, and they asked Jesus, Allah asked you, did you tell anybody to worship me? He said, no, far above me for me to tell worship me. And the devil going to say, well, you know, I didn't tell them worship. I just suggested that they do it. You know, that's what happens. See, he put those suggestions in you. You follow what he says. But if you have the same suggestions being taught to you 24/7 about, listen, that's entertainment, whatever. Don't believe in that. And that's finite. But then that's a whole different thing. So I think what we're looking at, that the prophet has allowed us through the Moorish Science Temple to change the world. And the world's not going to like that. Because they want worldly things. They want everything. That's the season we're in now. It's all about the world. It's not about Allah and the prophet and Jesus and what he went through. It's about prizes and getting gifts and some Santa Claus and so and so. So when you start putting down the falsehood, you're going to find yourself maybe defriending a lot of people that you thought were your even relatives. And it's not because we don't like them. We're here now to teach them. No, brother, we don't do that. Where's the salvation in that? Where is the salvation in worshiping these objects that you want to worship and giving somebody another object? So without no disrespect to anyone, yeah, we're going to be different. And their heads going to stand out above the trees of the forest too, because what's going to happen is they're changed. They become a whole other person that has nothing to do with the world and what the world is generally teaching and making a lot of money off of teaching. And then it's going to on us. Are we going to drop down to the level? Well, listen here, man, I need this job, so I'm going to go out here and I'm going to purposely lie about I'm a Negro, black, and colored, and I like so and so and so and so. So that's called, like the Prophet says, playing the fool by halves. And so when you read Buddha talks about that, having a right job, all these things that would deal with right. So this divine information has always been here. It's just the masses of people maybe have not accepted it. And if the exception really comes from because you want to have friends. And if your friends are deluded to slavery, I want to delude to slavery too, because I want a friend. But it takes another type of individual not to delude to slavery, but stand up for that which is right, like Jesus did. And he didn't have too many friends. He maybe had some secret friends, but not like they weren't stand up like that. So when you read about the whole crucifixion, what happened before that, oh man, he told them what it was going to happen to him, and how they're going to deny him, how they're going to do this, and he's going to have to go to the garden. When you look at the Garden of Gethsemane, you need to read about the Garden of Gethsemane, because that's what he was really going through. That he knew this was coming on, and they were sleeping, and can't you know I'm going to be going through this trials and tribulations. So when you brought that chapter, when you start reading what happened before that, it's like, where you got to have that. That's the kind of courage and strength that I'm going to have in life. And it's saying yes. And you made that, you purposely, me too, made that decision. That's what you want to do. That's why you don't want to be a Moore Science Temple dropout, because what it means is you get revealed and say, well, I don't think I want to do that part. I want to amalgamate. So those decisions is on you. The weakness of man doesn't bear his splendor. So I'm laughing in a jokeful way. I'm just saying I've learned along the way. Yeah, man, this is not a journey of foolishness and folly. It's for real. And if you're going to read, you might feel that you got crucified because you tried to stand up for that which is right. But if no one stands up, why be a divine minister? Why be you don't want all that stuff, because if you really believe in the prophet, then you're fearless. And I'm not saying fearless in a part of being a warrior just to be evil and mean. You're trying to stand for that which is right.
Islam.
And even if it's accepted now or not. Peace.
And Brother Q McGee, Brother Q McGee Bay kind of spoke on it a little bit. How do you open the windows of your heart, and why are they closed? It's just open.
Fear.
Yeah, you said, how do you open the windows of your heart? Yeah,
how do you open the windows of your heart, and why are they closed?
Well, I say, like, you want to if you had the question is how, then it's a matter of you going within and seeing what got the window jammed. you got to kind of see why the window was shut, or how did it get shut? Why do you have a cold heart, as they say, or why are you closing your heart so you cannot receive?
Fear, dismay.
Because that's what's going on. You're blocking blessings. You're blocking the light. You're blocking yourself from receiving the light. And in order to receive the light, you got to open up those shades, those windows, those blinds, everything that's in the way of that light penetrating. So I would say, you want to go within and really examine what's in your heart, what's stopping you from receiving, a person asked me one time, because I said, a still small voice, I hear it. And at times, because I guess I was, a little bit a lot unfamiliar with it, I would not listen to what the still small voice said, because I wasn't really familiar. So I wasn't really receiving. And that person asked me, why aren't you listening? Why aren't you? Why? And I had to think about that. Why are you not listening to that voice? It says, go this way. Why am I second guessing it? Because I haven't familiarized myself with the sound of that voice. And And those are some of the things that make me think about, make me go within and contemplate and think about, some of the things I do and why I do the things I do. Why am I not receiving? Like, I may receive a message a week before that's telling me what to do the week of, and I still ignored it, because I got a block. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, and that's my experiences of now learning to trust that voice. Peace.
Peace.
And like the brother was saying, the question lies, and I was looking at the breath of heaven. I found the answer. That's in chapter 37, in the breath of heaven. And it says that the ground must be prepared before the corn. This is instruction 2. The ground must be prepared before corn can be planted. The potter must build his strength before he can make his porcelain. And then it says, when it goes down about instruction 12, why we don't do it. Fear and dismay, which robs thy countenance of its ruddy splendor. Avoid guilt, and thou shalt know that fear is beneath thee, that dismay is unnamely. So what happens is, like the brother was saying, it's the fear and guilt that we might have.
Yeah.
And so if your teacher doesn't teach you about that, then you won't know what that is when that challenge comes. Or you haphazardly been in the challenge, but you didn't really understand how to figure it out and how to use it on a consistent basis. So to me, that's what Jesus was telling the people, how to do this on a consistent basis. You were born in a certain way, but that doesn't mean you're going to stay that way. So you come to Moorish Science Temple, you're supposed to come into change. So if you didn't come into change, then, and like I said earlier, if you want to cling to those things that's going to bound you down to cardinal life, that's not the prophet's fault. That's your fault, because you still want to cling on to that. So to make it real simple, like I told a brother yesterday, I try not to go to a car mechanic to do my dentistry, because he don't know nothing about no dentistry. He's got the wrong tools. So you got to go to the right instructor, who's the prophet. He knows how to handle your condition. So he's physically not here in one sense. So what that means is he left it possible on Fridays and Sundays to study through your Sunday school, because out of your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. And so if you're going to guide the nation right, most of the ones I hear guide, not the Moorish Science Temple, all they're talking about is nationality. They're not talking about how to look within. They're not teaching that. So what we're trying to teach our people, both and, how to look within and about your nationality and your divine creed. And then the prophet goes on to about seek ye first the kingdom of heaven. That was the nationality part. That's what he says, about proclaiming nationality. And then all these things be given unto thee. So to me, the fear and dismay stops me from wanting to go ahead and to go further. And I don't know, I'm not sure. I don't know about y'all, but sometimes riding in the car, am I going to find a place to park? It's raining outside, about all these little things that come up that have nothing to do with the end result. And what it is we built up these layers of doubt, because I'll be honest with you, we're influenced by media and stuff, what they tell you, goose, goblins, all that kind of stuff like that. And to me, that's the I'm going to use the season, because that's what people are tied to. They're not tied because they love Allah or the prophet or Jesus. They're tied up because they love the glitter and the gold, and I'm going to get me a present. So if you start clinging that, you pass that clinging to your children, they start clinging. That's where it comes from. So a lot of it is so embedded in you because everybody's doing it. So for Rebels Bay, the first time I didn't do it, that was the hardest, because I grew up doing this thing every year. But once I knew the truth, it's either you're going to go with the truth or you're going to go back to the falsehood. And do you really want to seek ye first the king? Do you really want to get a heavenly state of mind? Then that means you let that cardinal stuff go. So now, I feel very comfortable about it, and I can stay with people and talk about it, and I don't feel no animosity and stuff. But the strength came once I gave it up. See, then I have the strength to give it up, and then you can begin like Jesus. Then you can begin to teach people, because they can look at you. Well, I don't see Rebels Bay out here buying no presents for no Christmas. See, that's what I'm talking about. So we don't want to play the fool by halves or in folly. But the growth in the Moorish Science Temple or any other religious school of thought like we're in, that determines how far along you came along the way. And it's not I'm better than anyone. It's just saying you come along much further than you thought you would come along. Peace.
Praise Allah. I see a question from, I believe it's Daryl Jackson. He said, what is eternal life? If either one of you all want to answer that question.
What it is? Well, if we look up eternal and we look up life, if we look up the word eternal, everlasting.
Islam.
And man can't die. So in our Holy Quran and Moorish Science Temple, we're talking about the plane of things made manifest. We didn't even get into the plane of soul, and then we get back to be one with Allah again. And then there's different levels of the soul that the Prophet teaches us. So it's not that easy. It's just that it took some of us a long time to even learn that Mama didn't die and go to heaven. That's falsehood.
Right.
Mother may be passed on, yes, but maybe she went to the soul plane. Maybe she went straight back to Allah. I don't know. But dealing in my thoughts, man, you just don't boom. There ain't no mystery. You just jump back up to the spirit plane. No, you got to go up to the soul plane and master that. Then you go back to the spirit plane and be one with Allah again. And it's no disrespect against anyone, because even myself, I don't say rest in peace. The Prophet says about rest in peace, but I talk about that boat sail on, because most people, when they say rest in peace, they're talking about from the Christian point of view. Well, they ain't no World War IV working. Jesus came and died for your sins. But we're not teaching that. We don't teach that here. We teach you that Jesus came to show the possibilities of man. So that's what we're talking about, that eternal life that will go on, that what he taught, not that we learn through some other religion that is really teaching you some things that is contrary to Islam and Islamism. Peace.
Yeah, and I add on to what the brother say. And to put it a little brief, to me it's the identifying of the spiritual aspects of life, not the carnal aspects of life. What goes on as it pertains to spirit man, spirit life, those things that you must be tried by, must be tempted by, those things that you must overcome, all those things that those eternal inside, those spiritual things that you have to travel to overcome some of the sins and woes and buffetings of this world. Peace.
Yes, I'm gonna now take a reading from the same chapter we was on, chapter 12. Jesus teaches the common people of the spring, tells them how to obtain eternal happiness. And I'm gonna go down to divine instruction 21 through 23. And Jesus said, the sons of men are toiling hard on desert plains and burning sands and rocky soil, are doing what their forefathers did, not dreaming that they can do aught else. Behold, a master comes and tells them of a hidden wealth, that underneath the rocky soil of carnal things are treasures that no man can count, that in the heart the richest gems abound, that he who wills may open the door and find them all. What does this mean to you? And can you give an example of the hidden treasures under the rocky soil of carnal things?
Oh, I think we kind of did in prior to this question. We talked about all the things that you get caught up in, those snares, those hidden snares that catch us unaware, all those thoughts that make our heart bleed, those carnal, those physical carnal things that we that we encounter, and I'm looking at this instruction. It says the Son of Men are toiling hard on desert plains and burning sands and rocky soil. This sounds like a journey. It sounds like something you're going through. You're
going through some hard.
We're toiling hard.
Yeah,
we're toiling hard on these things, and we get into a certain place in a certain rhythm because men need a pattern. We love to follow. So then we think like our fathers did. For an example, not to put my father on blast, but this is some of the things that I had to overcome. I watched my father drive from California to Chicago to work on a house because he didn't know certain things. So what that did was make me say, when it was time for me to buy a house, I'm not buying no house. I don't know if I'm, and I fought because I was watching the pattern, and I'm thinking I couldn't do nothing else other than what he did.
Right.
A lot of times this is where we need to examine where our thoughts come from. What is the root of our thoughts? And when we go digging and delving down deep, we find a lot of the gems. We find the answers to a lot of these problems that we have. And I'd like to think that those are the gems, because he says the gifts of the understanders are the treasures of Allah. So as you are understanding and start to break open these things of why you do the things you do, you start to have a different view on life, and you start to treasure life and look at life and live life in a different type of way. That's what that means for me, you know. And you know, it says he who wills may open the door and find them all, you know. So it's about your will, you know, it's about your will. If your will is sluggish, you're not going to go digging deep enough. You're going to stop right when you get to the gym. You get right up on that gym and stop, you know. So that's what it means to me. Peace.
Peace. Yes, Islam, and I agree with everyone said, and I really can't add anything, but the Prophet said that basically that what we're trying to teach people is for heaven alone be the hope for good. But he mentioned about the father, you know, the father teaches lessons to your little one, you know, take care of the family rather than the mother teaches the little one, so the children learn to love instead of hate. So therefore, if my father had these instructions, and that's when I was placed upon me, excuse me, to have these instructions, that's what we're supposed to do, and to guide our children the best we can. But if they have these divine instructions, they know that the Father, we're talking about our Father God Allah, where things are unlimitless. So that's what will carry us through any opposition that we have. But we're not going to be a soldier for any type of strength unless we go through certain things on a plane of things may manifest. Because remember, we tore ourselves away from Allah. I said, like, wow. You didn't like just say, I slipped away. You tore yourself away. So that's a pretty, I think about it's like ripping, you know, ripping something, violently ripping away. Yeah, that's deep, you know. So praise Allah, you know. So now we're doing it, trying to hopefully mend our ways in love, you know, come back to Allah in love, and He's merciful God. So, you know, sometimes we put ourselves through a whole bunch of stuff. If we just learn to obey and do, like the brother was saying earlier, all is well, you know, all is well. Peace.
And, how is this connected to the heart being the nearest place where we can meet Allah?
How is
this connected to the heart being the nearest place we can meet Allah?
Rephrase your question one more time. How is
this connected to the heart?
Okay.
Being the nearest place we can meet Allah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thoughts that you hold are in the heart, you know, and the instructions, it says our thoughts are naked to His view. So I think in that way that, you know, Allah is seeing what's in your heart. He's right there. So you can't hide, Muslim. You can't hide. It's like right there, you know, it's like you can't, you know, you might as well face it, you know, that He's been here all along. And that's sometimes a hard pill to swallow, that you've been doing the things that you've been doing and Allah has been there the whole time, you know. And you know, it does say that, you know, that's where you will find, you know, if you dig down deep enough, you'll find the truth. And then another word for truth is Allah. And, you know, and this is where this is where you meet Him. You meet the truth. You meet what's going on with you. When you dig down deep within yourself, you'll find out. That's how I equate that more. Peace.
Islam. Can you hear me okay, my brother?
Yes, sir.
Islam.
Good, because I had to charge, I'm charging my phone at the same time, so I was hoping I couldn't speak to my headset directly. But yes, and the prayer says it all. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day through His holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. So when you say about the heart, well, the nearest place we can meet Allah is in the heart. And His heart, like the brother said, what he said, that the prophet said, that, you know, his views are naked to Him anyway. So you can't run away. There's nowhere to hide. So once Allah is opening His hands to you, He's opened His arms to you in a symbolic way to you, that there is no fear, you know, or fear of that. You're supposed to fear Allah because of that wrath. but he's, you know, but his love outshines his fear, you know, because there'd be no reason why he can't redeem you from where you are. He must love you to redeem you. You know, you can't do anything that bad that he doesn't love you. There's certain sins that are forgivable, some that are not forgivable. You know, you take the life of another, which shall not enjoy his own. But I'm just saying, all in all, my understanding that Allah, he's not your partner. You know, you can't bargain with him. Look, if you get me out of this one, then I'm sure I'm gonna pray next week. No, it's not like that. He's not a business partner with you. You know, you got to learn to submit totally. And once you learn, like Jesus did, like he said, when his will was the will of Allah, the resurrection was a fact. So again, it's not that you don't have a pattern. You have the pattern in Jesus. But the pattern of Jesus that we're talking about is that at least comes through the Moorish Science Temple, not the other pattern you may come through some other religions that put Jesus as being a mystery man, 12 years. We don't know where he went to the wilderness. Nobody know. No, we have the missing 18 years. So where he was taught in Egypt, you know, and where he taught. So therefore, we're learning those things that were left out deliberately, possibly, and to deceive people. So if we do put our hand in laws on change, all is well. It's really simple. And the prophet says, learn to love instead of hate, the Asiatic nation. That's what we're trying to learn, love instead of hate. Peace.
Peace. We near the end of universal love. I see some of these questions is not really pertaining to the topic, so I'm not going to like really ask those questions. But we got one question says, who are the common people? This is from Brother Clarence Barnes. Who are the common people?
Okay. Well, in this particular setting, I believe, you know, as if we go back and look, the common people, this is where Jesus was sitting in silent meditation, and he was sitting beside a flowing spring, and it was a holy day. I'm gonna just read from the chapter.
Islam.
He said, and many people were of the servant caste. And, you know, those people were near that place where he was meditating. And Jesus saw the hard drawn lines of toil on every brow, in every hand. And there was no look of joy on any face, you know. And when you look at that description, you could kind of you could kind of visualize what people, or what was considered maybe the common amongst the common people. Not that they were low, but it says a servant caste. You know, they were in a place of servant, or being of service. And so from that standpoint, that I think that's pretty much what that alludes to. You know, just the regular people. You know, he wasn't so high that he couldn't be amongst what some people would deem regular, or amongst the regular people, amongst the common people. You know, he wasn't sitting with the kings and the ones who he wasn't seeking any earthly throne, so he wasn't trying to necessarily hang out or hang around that. So he was amongst the regular people. He came into villages and different things like that. Peace.
Peace. And I think also when you said that, you look at the life of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, you know, he came to the common people too. But the thoughts that he has would include everyone that maybe had that thought of trying to be the high and low, the rich and the poor, the wise and the ignorant. So I think that thought reaches everybody, even though it came to one specific class. Prophet Noble Drew Ali came to the Asiatics of America, but yet it's a universal thought that he has. But he specifically came to the Asiatics of America first for them. So, you know, I think sometimes I don't try and read a whole bunch of stuff. I mean, I hear the comments and stuff, but I really think if we're looking for the essence of what the prophet is talking about, the most important part is fill your heart with peace, you know, and learn to love instead of hate, so that you can help raise the people up like the prophets have done. And the common people, start with your family, start with your friends, you know, then it spreads out. But Jesus' job was, he started with even his family might not even totally, you know, his mother and father. Why did you treat, he said, Jesus said, well, don't you know I must be my father's? But they didn't fully, they understood. They were one of his teachers, but sometimes they didn't fully understand. That something doesn't make them bad people. It just means that's how high this divine information is that we're talking about. Peace.
All right. Being that we got like a few minutes left, if you could leave the viewers with a closing remark, and if you got a business venture, anything you want to share, please put it out there. And this is the platform for it. And so we start with Brother Q McGee Bay.
Islam Moores, I really appreciate the show. I really appreciate you, brother T. Adams and Sister Adams Bay. Being steadfast in the movement, being steadfast on this show. I remember it in its inception, and it's just beautiful to see it's growing.
Praise
and it's
Allah.
Still going on, and it's just a beautiful thing. And I'm happy to be here to help out and assist whenever I can. The thing that sticks out to me is what the brother brought to mind, and I often think about this because I'm always dealing with my foes, and it says without a foe, a soldier never knows his strength.
Islam.
And thought must be developed by the exercise of strength.
Islam.
And that is that. I said that one time to somebody, and because that was just that's what came to my heart. And he said, "Man, where you get that from, man?" He changed my. He said, "Man, that's the best thing I heard." And because to me that is it. It's like you start to realize that these struggles and these things that you're going through is for your development.
Islam.
I mean, I'm still starting to realize that. Just like I'm starting to learn to love. This is. We say, "Oh, I love you." But the prophet said we got to learn to love instead of hate. So that means we're in a place where we thought love was something and it was not. So just those things alone, man. I'm blessed. I'm thankful. And again, I thank you, brother. And I hope to see you back and one day at Temple 71. Peace.
Peace.
And I echo what the brother said. I honor you and the family for Allah allowing you to put this together for so many years. We went to Moorish Science Temple. We're hoping and praying that we have brothers and sisters that come along that can help us take this movement higher and higher and higher. We're really working for the prophet because Allah is the guy of this Moorish Science Temple of America. But I'm so glad to be even asked to be on the program and to hopefully contribute to the uplifting of fallen humanity. And I hope that those that hear the same thing too. The Moorish Science Temple is a good place to come and learn and grow. I didn't come here knowing anything, and if I did, I didn't say anything about it. I came here to learn, just like any other good student. I came in, pen, pencil, trying to be a good student, trying to get the best grades I could get. Well, the grades in here is how you're going to make it through life. When you're 19, when you're 29, when you're 39, when you're 49, when you're 59, when you're 69, when you're 79, when you're 89, that's where the test really going to come. It's easy to come in and say, I love Allah and the prophet. Then 5-10 years, something happened. Well, boy, I ain't with that no more. So we, and even with them, when brothers say we try to help brothers and sisters learn, that's what we're talking about. This is a lifelong journey. It's not, I don't know how many trips around the sun are going to take. But the prophet did say, if he can't teach you, he'll teach you in the soul plane. But the blessing is, if he's with you and Allah's with you, there's nobody against you. And it's only to perfect you to be in that army. And I'm not talking about no physical army. We're going to have beaten up people. That army that's going to be armed with truth to save the world. That's what we're here to save the world. And so then people say, if I know about the Moors over there's some good, righteous people. They feed us. They help us along the way, and they educating us. Well, that's the kind of thoughts I pray a lot that we give the public, that they want to come in. And it's not a clubhouse. It's not a social club. It's a place where we can come in and be godlike in a true and divine way. So praise Allah, Moors. I'm so glad that you invited me here today. And I look forward to being, if anybody will look out, want any help, Moorish Science Temple 21, the doors are open. Peace. Thank you.
Islam. Once again, I rise and give praise to Allah and honors the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to my beautiful wife, the guest speakers, Brother Q McGee Bay, Brother N Rebels Bay. I give honors to our viewers, listeners, and everyone who tuned in to Universal Love for some uplifting information. I hope that you all came here, you had a pen and pad, took some notes, and left here with something that can get you through your night, your day, your week, because it's like it was stated many times, we're in the uplifting business, and if we can reach one person, praise Allah, and I want to say, please tune in tomorrow for Girl Talk, Real Talk, Moorish Talk. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Friday, Tune in for our Holy Day meetings at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Sunday school is 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And also, just be prepared and be on the lookout for the up and coming celebration for our holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and celebrating his birthday. And with that being said, what's in you is in me, and what's in me is in you. And if we could focus on the Allah in each other, we can accomplish some mighty things. Peace.
Peace.